Hi, everybody. Welcome to Book 2, Night 27 of the Orphan's Tales Live Quarantine Reading Series. It's been a day. A lot's going on. I've been working all day and I had to go to town because I had to go into a physical bank like a savage. And I still have to work after this is over. I'm so tired and I'm not done. I have to finish editing my Batman episode. Some of you have heard that I am writing a Batman audio drama for Serial Box, along with Marty Cahill and Kay Arsenault Rivera, which is super exciting. I'm the showrunner, so it's kind of my gig. Like, I did the pitch the story and everything. Very exciting. Remember how I told you there was a clue to my secret project in almost every Orphan's Tales broadcast? I've been saying all night, or every night for the whole time since March, and that was the clue that I'm doing Batman. So that's very exciting, but it also I have to do before I go to bed, and it's going to be 9:15 by the time I end. So exhausting. And my husband ran a GoFundMe today to try and get a proper recording booth. The other thing you guys don't know is that every time I do this, and that was every night during the first portion of lockdown, I'm taking work time away from him because he's only been able to record at night since he started doing this job. So we're so incredibly grateful for everybody who has donated so that he can actually have the right tools for his job and a good workspace, and make life in this house much easier. So thank you so much, everyone, for helping him out. So it's just been a madhouse day. I'm kind of over having to take a boat to do basic errands. I think that was more fun before I had a kid. Oh, and so I'm going to complain about this here, because if I complain about it on Twitter, then the people involved will hear me, but they don't watch these. At our daycare, somebody may have been exposed to somebody with COVID, but they won't tell us who it is, and they won't tell us what the situation is or give us any information, and they're like, just tell us whether your kid's coming or not. So now we have to decide whether to send our son tomorrow with zero information. And I'm just mad. I'm mad. I understand medical privacy, but you have to give us enough information to make a decision. Is it a teacher, or did some child's grandparent's cousin go to a party with 20 people and one of them might have had COVID? What does it mean? So give me information, but they are not giving us information. So now I'm super stressed out and my cat's sick. So a lot's going on. I'm really worried about my cat. I'm trying to play it off like I'm not worried about my cat, but I'm really worried about my cat. He's a Maine Coon. He's the cousin of my Maine Coon October, who died when she was 8, when I was writing space opera. And Lord Byron is 8, and I'm writing the sequel to space opera. And I don't like when things line up like that, and he's not acting right. So I'm extremely concerned about Byron, extremely concerned about my daycare, which we desperately need. And I am extremely concerned about my own mental resilience in the face of all this, which is very low. But at least I do not have to be concerned about whether or not my husband's going to be able to get what he needs to work. You guys have taken care of that for us. We're very, very grateful. I just want to go to bed. Okay, not going to bed, doing Orphan's Tales. I'll do my intro and then we'll get into it. So the other thing is, so we were talking about finishing this up right around Halloween. I don't know what day of the week Halloween is. Time no longer exists or has any meaning. But that's actually, so we only have 70 pages left, less than 70, 69 actually. Nice. And so we are going to have to strategically skip a day to make that happen. So I think that we will probably end up skipping next Wednesday to line it up so that we finish as close to Halloween as we can. So I'm just letting you know that we're going to skip a day to make it more poetic. But yeah, we are so close to the end, guys. Other than that, that's all the housekeeping we got. The personal ranting, since I no longer am allowed to like have in-person friends that I can complain to. You guys have to hear my complaining about life. All right, here we go. As always, this is not an audiobook of The Orphan's Tales. For legal reasons, this is a play, a one-woman show. You can find music based on these books at sjtucker.com. You can get copies of them at your local independent bookseller's web portal. Please patronize them as much as you can. If you would like to support my local independent bookstore, it is printbookstore.com in Portland, Maine. You can find me on Twitter. Today, revealing the secrets of my husband's sleep talking, which is hilarious, and complaining about the Supreme Court farce happening right now. That's a pretty good representation of what my Twitter is usually like. Dumb jokes and puns and yelling about politics. You can also find me on Patreon at Catherynne Valente and subscribe to that and help support my work. We're going to have some pretty awesome stuff up there this month, coming very soon as I actually turn something in this week. And you can catch up in the archive on Cat Valente Live at YouTube. And if you would like to support this reading series and my other work, you can leave a tip in the tip jar at my Instagram profile, my YouTube profile, or my website, which is CatherynneValente.com, or you can donate to my husband's GoFundMe and help him get over the top to be able to get himself a recording booth. Because he does this reading out loud thing for a living. I'm a rank amateur. Okay, here we go. I don't know what I'm drinking. Said narrator made it. So it could be anything, could be hemlock. Who can say? I no longer remember anything about what's coming here, so your guess is as good as mine. We will discover it together. All right. The Tale of the Carnelian Box. It is a long way to fall from the sky to the earth. It is a long way to fall in the dark, and the space between is cold. I do not blame her. It is not in my nature to blame. But I did not want to go. The others all chose to stay or to fall, to burn or gutter or darken. I could not choose. A star walked among us, with legs like pillars of fire, before she wove before the red city, and we were uprooted from the soft black, uprooted from the earth, which is the sky. And I wonder if she even saw us crumple beneath her, if she even saw us fall. So many were trampled and shattered that day. So many fell in shivering slivers, a slaughter of broken rain howling through the sky like a shower of glass. But I was lucky. I lost only my feet under hers, and fell more or less whole, my ears able to hear all the screams of the grass stars around me, sheared into nothingness, their light splattered across the fields. I know that if I had been allowed to stay, the black thing that bore me would have come back. Mothers always come back. I chose to be grass for her. I chose to lie at the bottom of the sky, so that she would see how humble I was, so that she would see that I wanted only to be a thing that would please her. These things I was allowed to choose, and if I could have stayed, I would have felt her gentle face above me. I would have put my hands to her dark cheeks. I would have cried. Children always cry. But I would have told her, see, Mother, I waited for you. I knew you would not abandon us. I knew you loved us still. I knew if I was faithful, you would come home. And she would have kissed me and told me I was her best loved daughter. And I would have known her smell and her skin. I would have known what she looked like. I would have known my mother at the end of all things. but I was not allowed to choose. I landed in a great field of sugar cane, and my broken stumps burned the stalks. They crumpled and sizzled beneath me. Smoke and shadows leapt up from their fractured, boiling leaves. "I'm sorry," I cried as I walked. I wept as I walked, and as I walked I began to scream, for I walked nowhere that did not burn, that did not incinerate beneath me, that did not fall into flames at the touch of my skin. "I'm sorry," I wailed, for I scalded them to nothing, to ash and shadows, and they could not choose any more than I. I tried to walk lightly, I tried to run, but shadows and smoke leapt up at my every step, and I stumbled onto mute stone and huddled against a jagged cliff face, burning nothing, sobbing and afraid. It was there I lived, terrified to move, terrified to sear all beneath me, until even the stone had blackened to a slick, scalded glass, and the light in me was dim and hidden. That was how he found me. When it was all over, he would call me Lee, and if I had a name before that, he spoke the name of Lee so many times that I had forgotten it. His shoulders were draped in a tiger's slashing skin, and from the edges of this hung talons of hawk and lizard. He was a big man, but his face was young, clear and eager, and his lips trembled. "He did not lie," the man marveled. "He did not lie to me. You are here, and real, and alive, and mine." "Do not touch me," I shrieked. He drew back, hurt. "Of course not, if you tell me I must not." "You will burn," I mumbled. "But you are my wish. You could never harm me." "I assure you I can." "And what can you mean? What did you wish for?" The man smiled with such joy and hope that my face tightened in the face of it. "Why, what else? I wished for a wife." The tale of the tiger harp. "Is this not a beautiful country? You could be happy here. I would build you a den of wattles and tiles, and bring you sacks of down from the river geese for your blankets. I would do both of these things for you, and more besides. When I was a boy, my father taught me to hunt, how to be very silent on my feet, how to strangle partridges and cut open deer in such a way that it hurts them little enough. When 19 of my winters found me living, I killed a tigress. This is very difficult. Tigers are clever. My father was proud. He dressed her and gave me her heart to eat, steaming red in the snow. It was wet and soft. It tasted of old arrowheads and marrow. And then he gave me her liver and her bones to suck. He told me to name the tiger I had killed, and remember her taste, how tall she had been, how many cubs watched us from the bracken. He told me to make a thing from her body every day for a year, so that I would know my tiger as well as I knew anything in our house. Soup and coats and sausages and rattles and roasts and gloves and lyre strings, all these I made, and more. I worked the year through, and I grieved for my tiger. I called my tiger Lee. It is a common name in this country. After the year of my tiger had passed, I saw in our village a girl fairer by far than tiger ink. She had hair like black stripes and eyes black as a cat's, and her hands were soft and deft. She wove beautiful things, and she tasted like lemons and warm stones. Her mother was a planter of crocuses and a threader of the priceless saffron culled from their blossoms. Her land was wide, almost endless, and her name was Lee. I have told you it was common. Lee was so wealthy I thought I could never wed her, being a boy who knew little but the secret taste of a tiger's heart. But I loved the crocus girl, even as I hunted silent and kind, even as my father died of chill and my mother of fever, even as I cared for my house alone and made each tiger I killed last for a year, in soups and coats and sausages, on rattles and roasts and gloves. There came a day when my cupboards were bare, and I went into the birch bracken to hunt. As I followed the tracks of the broad-shouldered tiger, in motions I had practiced as a dancer does her favorite reels, I heard beside me other footsteps, just as practiced. As I came upon the tiger, who snarled as cats will do, the other hunter came into the clearing, and before I could loose my bow, shot a crow-fletched arrow straight and true into the tiger's heart. You will not be surprised to know it was Lee. She stood with her long legs apart, her hair flat and straight, her arms cradling her bow easily. She turned to me and smiled. "What do you think I ought to name my kill?" she said. "Shall I call it Lem? It seems only fair." "Yes," I breathed. "Call him Lem." Together we cut open the white fur of his belly, and I gave Lee his heart to eat, wet and soft. She said it tasted like her own skin. I gave her his liver and also his bones, and together we took the carcass back to my house, where I showed her how to make tiger soup. Lee's mother was not altogether angry, but she did withhold her crocuses from our wedding, since her permission had not been asked. I accepted this as just, and I leapt over her stone wall and stole a single yellow flower for Lee to wear in her hair, my crocus girl, my tiger girl. Lee made tiger soup in my house, and tiger coats, and tiger sausage, and tiger rattles, tiger roasts rich as cake, and she played upon a tiger harp songs so sweet and strange that on warm nights there would gather round the threshold wild and striped creatures, nosing the air curiously and twitching their long, white whiskers. But Lee was not happy. After a year she stopped hunting with me. After 2 she would not make the tiger soup. "What is the matter, my beloved, my crocus, my dear?" I said, taking her head and her hand in my arms. "Outside our door the tigers come to hear me sing, and I cannot make the stew of their bones, no matter how much saffron and thyme and marigold roots I grind into it, without tasting not my own skin, but my own song, which they love well enough to gather around the house of those who sharpen their arrows to pierce striped flesh. I need not only hunt tigers, Lee. Deer are easier prey, and rabbits and bear." My wife turned her wide-cheeked face to mine. "And what will happen when I make the deer soup, and the rabbit soup, and the bear soup? What will happen when I play the harp of deer, the harp of rabbit, the harp of bear?" And so I still hunted the tiger, but I made the soup myself. But Lee still played the harp, and still the tigers gathered. One evening, when the sky was as deep a blue as any crocus we own, I brought her a wooden bowl with a soup of thyme and marigold, and no tiger at all. I have a lovely illustration of the tigers gathering here. She drank it, and then took up her harp of bone and gut. She stood and opened the door to our house. I tried to stop her, but she laughed and shooed me back. And so I watched from the window as Lee sat on a stump among the crocuses her mother had finally sent to us years after our wedding, and played to the moon in the bracken. It was terrible what she played. It hurt me to hear it, the strings plucked in longing, the melody foreign and savage and toothed. She put her head back, and the moon glossed her scalp, and I did not know in that moment, not really, the woman who slept beside me with her cheek on my chest. Slowly the tigers came. There were 9 of them. I remember that. Their muzzles were white and ghostly in the dark. Their stripes cut the night apart. Lee played and they listened, their heads cocked, tails stiff. One by one they threw back their heads and howled. You will say cats do not howl. Only wolves do as much. Cats screech or hiss, but do not howl. You are wrong. Cats can howl, and 9 cats can howl like a choir of demons. Their voices joined with Lee's strings at feral angles. Their fangs gleamed yellow, their throats ululated, and beneath their paws 100 crocuses were crushed. Tears ran down Lee's face. She stopped playing, staring with wonder and ecstasy at the throng. One by one they ceased their howls and looked steadily back at my wife. She opened her arms to them, and I understood her. Never tell me I do not understand my wife. She opened her arms, pleading for forgiveness, pleading for feline clemency, for what grace tigers can give. They leapt as one beast into her arms and devoured her, her heart, her liver, her bones. She did not last a year. The tale of the carnelian box continued. I am sorry for you, I said weakly. I ate nothing but crocuses for months. I hunted all 9 tigers and boiled their hearts. It did not help. I watched them eat her and could not go on. Lem's voice was rough and hard used, as though he had never known the end of weeping. But it is all right now. He granted me a new wife, and you are here. I do not know of any promises made to you, but I am not your wife. It was not a promise. It was a wish. And you are here. You are here. This is a beautiful country. You could be happy here. I could build you a safe den, away from the water and the storms. I would make for you the tiger soup. I would be as grass for you, humble beneath your feet. I startled and met his eyes. I should not have moved from my rock, but I knew nothing of the world. I was alone. I did not know how to look into his face, so I did not know not to look into his face, so eager and needing. I cannot walk, I protested. My feet are broken off, and you still must not touch me, for you will burn. My darling, my Lee, I will make you new feet of pure pale silver, and I will not ask for your touch. I am not Lee. I am not her. Look at me. I am made of grass and light. I am nothing like her. He looked at me sadly, great dark eyes wrung dry with yearning. It is a common name in this country. He would not meet my gaze, and stared at the rock floor, speaking very quietly, his voice tremulous as an infant sparrow. But I knew that if I waited, if I was faithful, you would come back. Wives always come back. If I chose to become very still, to play the ghost harp on a stump of hazelwood, you would come to the door, and I would feel again, in your own hands, your gentle face above me. I would put my palms to your dark hair. I would cry. Widowers always cry. But I would be able to say to you, see, my wife, my own, I waited for you. I knew you would not abandon me. I knew you loved me still. I knew if I was faithful, you would come home. And you would kiss me and tell me I was your own husband dear. And I would know your smell and your skin once more after all these years. I would know my wife again at the end of all things. After a long while, looking at his bent and penitent head, I sighed. I do know something about that. But still I wept as we walked, and the grasses burned beneath my tears. His house was low, and its roof was sound. I stood outside and would not go in, for I would burn his thatch too, I knew it. I was fallen from my mother. I could touch nothing without harm. But in all the windows and the grassy roof and the crocuses of the little garden, lizards blinked up at me, tiny lizards of blue and green and black. What are they? I asked. Oh, he laughed distractedly, putting his hand to his thick hair. Those are my lizards. Even tiger hunting is sometimes tedious, and I learned from one of your uncles. He blushed. You remember, darling, the one who never married and keeps all those skinny dogs, that lizards are pleasant and keep the insects away. But he did not know what I do. The markings on their backs are strange and complicated. One of them had an incantation written on his scales. He's the only one so far, but I have hope. It is how I made my wish, how I summoned him. Summoned who? Kosh. He gave you back to me. Bless his beard. One day I shall take my bull lizard to the queen and show her the marvels in his skin, but I am not ready yet. He smiled shyly. And I have a wife to look after. And so he went into his little house and began to prepare the soup of tiger meat and thyme and saffron and marigold roots, singing a little to himself, happy as a roosting hen. I stood outside and shivered in the frost. My hidden silver leached into the earth even then, into the stump, into the lizards who gathered round me as around a drinking hole, and my light flowed out of me over their scales. Before the night was done, I ventured in, burning nothing, never again, to his choking gladness. There was still light in me, but it was cold then and thin. I ate the orange soup from a bowl of wood. I could not decide if I was sorry that the hut did not go up in flames. But I was walled up within it, true and tight. My winter, true to his word, he had made me new feet, all of silver, and set my green and broken ankles into their hollows. I tried to make him a soup of light, but he would not touch it, pressing me with his cat meat in his fingers. I tried to believe it was good to wait upon the earth as in the sky. But I was not happy. I did not wish to hunt the striped cats. I did not wish to learn to make the soup. I did not wish to learn to play the harp, the deer harp, the rabbit harp, the bear harp, even the tiger harp, which Lem would not let me touch. But I did not wish to touch it. I sat ever in the dark corners of the house, trying to feel as I had felt in the endless night pastures of the sky. He did not like this, and though he coaxed me toward the hearth and the knitting chair and the bed, I would not go. I wept and scratched at the reedy flesh of my arms and forgot my name in his grief. One evening he touched my face with his big, gentle hands, and his palms grew greasy with light, and he said, "What is the matter, Lee, my beloved, my crocus, my cat?" "I am unhappy," I said. "How can you be unhappy? I have made for you the tiger soup and banked the fire so pleasantly. I have crushed thyme flowers into the bed linen so it smells sweet. I have kept your crocuses bright as little candles in the soil. What else can I do?" I said nothing, stubborn and sullen. Why did I stay, you may ask me? Why did I not leave him to his muddled soup and his silver feet? I am accustomed to lying still and waiting, I would say to you. But how could my mother see me down there on the ground with the crocuses and the lizards? That very night he pulled his blue bull lizard from a high cupboard where the fellow had been gnawing on an old wine bottle and whispered the words on his back, the black and winding words that the lizard's fringed flesh offered up to him. The lizard's eyes flared, and his scales split open to reveal terrible scarlet embers, and smoke belched from his poor mouth. "Lem, you are a tedious man. Why do you drag me from my paradise of 6 towers, where the music of the gin twangs stars against the wind hour after hour, and pack me into your foul, stinking lizard once more? This is no fit vessel for me." "I am sorry, Kashkash, but I have great need. You were so kind and wise when last we spoke. You heard my travails and told me where to find my wife huddled against the cliff. I have done so, and she is here, bedded into my house." "Then why do you trouble me?" The lizard licked his eyeball in an uninterested fashion. He grimaced, the taste of eyeball being less than savory. "She is unhappy, and I cannot make her well. She does not speak, she does not make the tiger soup, she does not love the thyme-scented bed." Lum rubbed the bridge of his nose and pled wretchedly with his beast. I just wish her desires were not so great. She were not so vast and empty, a pit into which my love pours and yet sounds no echo. I wish her needs were smaller and sweeter." He licked his lips. "I fear she will take up the harp soon, and then where shall I be?" The lizard considered. "Surely this is easy enough for me to accomplish, who may hold in the circuit of his arms all possible things, even to the crushing of a star into a house not big enough for her smallest finger. Even this star. But why should I do such a thing? Because I will keep her safe. I will keep her and love her. I will be as grass beneath her feet, and I will never let the tigers touch her again. I swear it, noble Kashkash." Lem took the tiny lizard's claws into his hands. "Don't touch me, you Filthy tiger tanner. I certainly do not care. But very well. And have a care with this lizard. I do not enjoy being summoned. I prefer to appear in regal excitations of smoke and flame whenever I please. Of course, Kosh. Go to your wife and see what I have accomplished in your name. Yes, Kosh. The flames beneath the lizard's skin snuffed themselves out, and his broken scales sealed up again with a hiss of steam. I would like to say I felt it, but I did not. When Lem came rushing to me, his face once more full of eagerness and need, his face once more adoring and stricken, I was no larger than his hand. I waited for him to be horrified, to curse the name of his lizard. But he exclaimed and he exulted, he danced in his rickety house. He clasped me to his cheek. Now you will never leave me, never, ever, and we will be happy, Lee, you and I. But I was not happy. I hated how small I had become, how impossible it was for me to eat or touch or see anything without the help of Lem, who, for his part, was as pleased as a full tiger. He carved for me a tiny bed of cherry wood and packed it with soft linens. He made for me minuscule knives and forks. I wept, and little more. But as the years went on, he began to fear for me, helpless as I had suddenly become. He forbade me to leave the house, to become the quick and thoughtless prey of a passing owl, and then forbade me to leave my bed of cherry wood, in case some cruel mouse were to take me in his hunger. I lay abed and did not move, and this suited me well enough, for I cared for nothing and stared into the dark, trying to imagine myself home. So it was that he removed the blue bull lizard from its perch near the chimney, and whispered once more the incantory scales which were scrawled there. I lay in my cradle, and watched the poor beast swell up with fire and spew his smoke, remembering the scent of the burning grass, remembering the grass I had once been. Lem, I do not like you, the lizard belched. Why must you call me again? I told you I prefer my entrances to be of my own choosing. But Kosh, hear me. I cannot bear the state of my life. What if, small as she is, my darling Lee, my crocus girl, my cat, were to be gobbled up by a possum or rat or falcon who knows no better? I cannot watch her always. I have not slept in so many days. What is it you ask of me? I cannot follow your gibbering. I wish that she would stay with me forever, safe and whole and untouched. I wish I could be certain that she remained unharmed for all my days and more. The burning lizard considered. In your madness, Lem, you do know she is not your Lee, don't you? I never promised you your old wife back. What I arranged for you was infinitely better than some lackluster flower farmer. Poor Lem, gentle Lem, looked at his lizard blankly, without comprehension. She is a star, Lem. She burned the earth when she came, and if you would understand me, I would tell you that I myself leapt from the smoke of her searing grasses. This is why you have this silly lizard, who nibbled rather densely at the scorched prairie where she fell. This is why I come to you when I have no desire to. Every creature longs to see how his family is getting along. The lizard grinned, fire leaping out of his throat. But if that is your wish, I shall do as I must. And in this way no one will be able to say I was not the first, that I was not the finest and first of all jinn. Darling Lem, good boy. She will be safe, I promise, but this is your last wish. Lem frowned, his eyes bleary and dim. Why? Because I have had 3. I've heard this is a law. No, because I find you tiresome. Go away. The lizard bellowed out his fire and closed up his scales. He extended his long, pink tongue, and on it was a box all of sparkling carnelian, on its edges carved in wheeling, curling grasses, with a tiny lock gleaming on its side. It was just the size of my bed. Oh, breathed Lem. Yes. And we will pick up there on Sunday. It is named in honor of Stanislaw Lem, before anybody asked. Though I mean, not the nicest character to name after him, but it was a character that has shown up. That kind of man has shown up a lot in Lem's short stories, with a slightly more positive spin on it, as such characters usually are when men write them. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask? I did a school visit today as well, so I feel like I've been in this chair answering questions into a camera for some time today. I'm not sure I remember anything else particularly about this story. Yeah, I'm not sure that I do. I love my tigers. I think there might be some inspiration there from the things they carry to there's a chapter called The Sweetheart of a Place in Vietnam. I can't remember the exact name of it, and I believe there was some kind of inspiration there, but other than that, it's just kind of about how much marriage sucks in a pre-technological society, and how women are so often encouraged to make themselves small for men, more than encouraged, forced to. Which at the time I was writing this, a housewife with a military husband who she never ever saw, was something that I think I needed to get out back then. It's a sad, a lot of the Orphan's tales are really sad. Fairy tales are really sad, that's the thing. There's the reason that so many people write about what happens after happily ever after, because most of the time happily ever after kind of sucks. It sucks for somebody, even if it's all right for Prince Charming, or whoever the protagonist is, but it often sucks for everyone else. Fairy tales are often grim and haha, and more often than they are grim, they're sad. Yeah, it's just the way of things. It's not that fun to be a Snow White. Yeah, does anybody else have questions? Or shall I do my outro business? I think I made more mistakes in that reading than I ever have before. Just like my eyes are starting to go. I've been working for so long. I've been up since before 8 working this morning, so I'm just a wreck. I love you too, Catherynne. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll do my outro. If you have any questions, you can pop them up in the chat, and then I'll answer them when I finish. As always, this is not an audiobook of The Orphan's Tales for legal reasons. This is a play. You can find music based on these books at sjtucker.com. You can find copies of them at your local independent booksellers' web portals or physical stores if you're comfortable with that. If you want to support mine, it's printbookstore.com. You can find me on Twitter at Cat Valente. You can find me on Patreon at Cat Valente. There's going to be a really cool story about what I just got in the mail today, going up there this month. I got my inheritance from my grandfather in the mail today, and it is comes up about to my waist. It is a mysterious object, and I will talk about it on Patreon. Oh goodness, what else? Yes, you can catch up in the archive at Cat Valente Live on YouTube. They usually go up the next day after I read them here. And you can, if you are so moved, toss a coin to your witch in the tip jar on my Instagram profile, my YouTube profile, or my website, which is CatherynneValente.com. Or if you like and want to support our household in a more holistic way, you can donate to my husband's GoFundMe to buy himself a recording booth, which is Heath Miller over at GoFundMe. And I will thank anybody who puts anything in the tip jar in the next stream. It is deeply, deeply appreciated, as we are... Our financial world's a mess right now. We are replacing our roof, which has actually, like, the water damage has actually gone down through the ceiling. So it's horrible. Welcome to homeownership. It sucks. And our cat is sick, so we're gonna have to go to the vet, and we have to get this booth, and like everything is just sort of all happening at once. So it's a mess, but we so deeply appreciate you guys helping us to get him situated with his work tools. I think that probably nothing directly would improve our life more quickly than being able to have that booth. So thank you so much, guys. You are our family and our community, and we are infinitely grateful for you. Grateful is a dumb word. It's so short. It's 8 letters. 8's not enough. But it's what we have. We are grateful. I am grateful. Love you all. And I will see you on Sunday night and over on Twitter in about 5 minutes. Because let's be honest, am I going to start working the minute I hit end? No, I'm going to stare at the ceiling for 20 minutes and then do it. Have a lovely night, guys. I love you all.